Tim, thank you very much for joining me today on Real Feel Insights. You are a retired state patrol officer. Was it just for Minnesota that you were, or were you ever employed elsewhere in another state?
No, I was just a state patrol, and then I also worked for about 5 years for a couple of different agencies prior to joining the patrol. But the majority was the state patrol.
Okay. So we're going to go way back, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Way back. I always wonder sometimes when people pick an occupation in law enforcement, sometimes I think it was their lifelong dream, or maybe mom, dad, or uncle was in it. How did you ever get into law enforcement?
It does go way back. So we grew up in central Minnesota. We had a small resort when I was growing up, and one of the things I remembered when I was a little kid was the local warden came over, and he checked the fishermen and stuff like that, and I remember very vividly that I was probably, I want to say, in that 4-year-old range.
Oh, you were really young.
And he pinned his badge on me. I thought that was the coolest thing ever,
Wow.
Well, then later on, my sister worked for a sheriff's office as a dispatcher, so I got to know some of the local deputies.
Okay.
And I think that, and then later in life, I think, when people ask you why you got into law enforcement, you always say, I want to help people and all this stuff. And it really dawned on me when my mom was ill and before she had passed that how much she actually helped people. And, she was always like the champion for the underdog type person.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, that's a lot of why I got into law enforcement is because of watching what she was doing. Always volunteering and.
Okay. Give me an example of what you remember your mama doing when you were growing up. One example.
Everything from Meals on Wheels.
Okay. Okay.
And she'd do it between her jobs,
Wow.
So.
Wow. That is really, I'm going to pull that out because I think of sometimes like when us, as parents, when we're young parents, just going about doing our life, how influential those things can be to a young child. And right there, you remember your mom being so helpful to the needy, to people that needed help, and the underdog. And that's, is that what you're saying, that you kind of got into it? Like really
I think so,
helping, truly helping people that need help.
I'll tell you just a real funny thing. My youngest son would basically be with grandma, during the day before he went to school and stuff like that. Did some daycare.
Yep.
And one of the things was to go on Meals on Wheels. And came home one day and it's like, what did you and grandma do today? We went and threw food to the old people.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, what? And he goes,
Okay. Oh.
my mom said, Meals on Wheels today.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was like.
Was it bagged up or something, or boxed? And then and he said we threw
food to the old people, and I'm like,
Oh, come on, no, that's pretty good.
So,
yeah, that was his perception of it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But no, she did a lot of volunteer work and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. So 4 years old, the local conservation officer pinned the badge on you, and you were pretty proud of that, and that was influential. And then all the way through high school, did you always say you were going to get into law enforcement?
I did get to know the deputies quite well because I worked at a gas station, and they would come in all the time.
Okay.
Plus the fact that my sister was a dispatcher,
Okay.
So they knew me that way.
Okay.
And they would always, take out their ID card and go, hey, maybe one of these days you'll have one of these, And it was probably about my junior year in high school that I decided that, I think that'd be a pretty good career, So.
Okay. So you didn't go for a few years here and try this. You went directly right out of high school, right into
right into tech school.
Right into tech school. Okay. All right. And then so you said that you were a state patrol officer the majority of your life, but you had a 5-year stint with doing what? What was it?
There's two different departments that I worked for. One was in way down in the southeast corner of Minnesota.
Okay.
Small little town, me and the chief, we were the law
so that
enforcement.
was that your first job?
That was my first job.
Okay, right out of
Yeah.
When you took that first job, did you know that you were in the right occupation? Did you feel, yep, I am doing the right thing yet?
Yeah, but it didn't take me long to figure out just how green I was and how much I didn't know about life and some of the aspects of the job. You know, down there, the first time that I ever had a call of a deceased person, it was me and an older deputy went to this guy's apartment, and he said, well, you have to roll him over and check and make sure there's no puncture wounds or, you know, foul play. And I looked at him and I'm like, I'm not touching him. And he was kind of, he goes, what do you mean you're not going to? I said, I'm not touching a dead person. He's like, you know, and this guy had many years on.
Sure,
so,
he was a veteran.
So he goes, well, I'll tell you what you do. He goes, wrapped a sheet around, you know, like his leg or something, and then you don't have to actually touch his flesh.
Okay.
That's how green I was.
Okay.
You know, and I thought, you know, after we had left the scene and stuff like that, I didn't really think about it. And then that night, when I went to bed, as soon as I shut my eyes, that's all I saw all night long was that guy. You know, nobody ever told me this was going to happen.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So there was some shock in, you know, in the first time I did, you know, things for the first
Right.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. You haven't forgot that.
No.
So what would you tell your younger self or a new rookie that they're ready to go out and save the world and do what they went to school for and what their heart is telling them, that they're trying to help with the underdog and do what they're supposed to do, and they come upon a situation like that and they can't do it because that's something that's very personal. I mean, you might not be trained to do that. What would you tell your younger self to, and now you're facing, you know, this night time of this visual. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. You know, the first thing I would tell any young officer that just come out of school or whatever is, you may know everything, but you don't know everything. And it's going to take you a while. It's going to take you a long time. And you're going to keep growing through your whole career. You're going to come across things that you never came across before. You know, and that's one thing that made law enforcement, you know, very appealing is there's always something new.
Okay.
It isn't the same thing day after day after day, you know, and it can strike at any minute. So.
That's striking at any minute. You like that? You like that high adrenaline rush all the time, knocking on your door?
You do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't say you crave for it or anything like that,
Okay.
but yeah, when you get that adrenaline rush,
Okay.
yeah, it's part of the job.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, like, from my perspective, if I was, this is why I'm not in law enforcement, I would be running the other way because I would be terrified of what I'm going to see, what I'm going to have to do, how badly I'm going to fail the situation to do what, you know, I probably, excuse me, what I should probably be doing. So that takes something else, you know, to have that. You just said it in a matter of a few seconds. But I'm telling you how I feel. Like, I would be literally running the other way. And here, you're not, like you said, it's not something you like, you know, just want all the time. But I mean, you're looking, you want that. That's what makes it exciting for you. And
I've always had instructors, they explain it like this, that the world is comprised of sheep and sheepdogs, and you need to be the sheepdog. You need to protect the rest of the flock.
oh my God, say that one more time. The world is comprised of,
Sheep and sheepdogs,
okay.
and you need to be the sheepdog that protects that flock.
Oh my God. Is that how you just are like that wherever you go? You're just thinking of how you can protect and to serve and
I think
to help?
that's why you go into law
Oh
enforcement.
my God.
You know,
Oh,
you want to be able to help people in their time of need. You know?
that breaks my heart when I hear that because I think about how many people like give law enforcement such a hard time. And here you wake up every morning wanting to protect every sheep out there, everybody that you can possibly encounter that needs help. And then you have people that, you know, are giving you a hard time about that.
You know, and the other thing I'd always convey to younger troopers when I would do field training is your job isn't to punish people, it's to educate.
Okay.
Once you start punishing people, they're not learning anymore. Then they're just mad at you for what you did.
Okay.
So
okay.
always teach as a learning, a teaching, you know, time.
Okay. Okay. And that has served you well.
Yeah, I
having
got
that
so many
approach.
thank yous for people giving them a ticket and they'd say thank you and
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
a lot more than
Okay.
shake your fist at you
Right,
and
right.
call your name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were you were a field trainer too? So,
Yes.
okay. Can you walk me through, let's kind of back up just a little bit so we kind of know some of the titles that you've carried over the years. So a couple early stints early on as
Patrolman.
patrolman.
Yep.
Okay. And then after that 5 years, did you get right into?
No, actually, I left law enforcement for about just a little over a year and a half.
Because,
My dad was diagnosed with cancer. I was living in another part of the state, and I felt that I needed to be home. And it wasn't until after he had passed and decided, okay, it's time to get back into law enforcement. And then I went to central Minnesota to a department, got hired there,
okay.
served for a couple of years, kind of got recruited by the local troopers.
Okay.
That you need to apply.
Okay.
And I ended up applying, and I was fortunate enough to get selected to the academy.
So, well, how old were you when your dad passed?
24.
So you quit just to come back and be with him. That's young, 24. Was it cancer?
Yeah.
Okay, and was it a long duration?
Yeah, it was a long duration.
Long duration
Yeah.
when he passed? 24. You're married.
Yes.
Where did that take place in these years here of?
Actually, so I met my wife at the local fire department fundraiser
Okay,
dance.
okay.
It's kind of she's got a lot of relatives in the area where I grew up.
Oh, okay, okay.
So they were kind of, she knew who I was. I didn't know who she was
Oh,
at the
okay,
time.
okay.
And then
So
we,
you had,
so we started dating, and then we dated the time, throughout when my dad was sick or whatever like that. And we got married the summer after he had passed.
okay, so you quit from southern Minnesota, came back, laid your dad to rest through all of that, but in that duration, you met your wife
Correct?
and then married her the summer after.
Yes.
Did your dad ever get to meet your wife?
Yes.
Oh, he did, okay.
Yeah.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, he used to, he had a kind of a southern accent every once in a while. He was born and raised in Georgia.
Okay.
So she got a kick out of the way that he said her name.
Oh, well, how did he say it?
It was, like Jeannie.
Okay, oh, sure, okay,
Kind of
okay.
thing, so.
Okay, okay. So some of these stories, when I hear them from some of my guests, it never ceases to amaze me that the turn of events in somebody's life, good or bad, actually opened up another door for some other avenue in life. So you coming home because your dad was sick, meeting your wife, marrying her the summer after, and then was it that same summer that you got married that you went to the academy then?
No, then I went to central Minnesota to another city, was an officer there for a couple of years.
Couple years, okay, okay. And now we go to the academy. How long is the academy?
It was 16 weeks of pure hell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, pure hell, 16 weeks, that's 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay, of pure hell.
They get you up at, it's military ran.
Okay,
So they get you up the first morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, banging pots and pans and garbage cans, and tell you, what worthless people, and they scrape the bottom of the barrel to find
my
all these
gosh.
recruits, and
okay,
and then they build you up from there to be a trooper, and by the time you're done, you're very well disciplined.
okay. So the night before you come in, you're thinking you're pretty hot stuff, but then the next morning you're woke up and then from that point on, you're not too much.
Well, it's kind of, I was kind of tipped off a little bit by the
Okay,
troopers, so
okay.
I didn't show up with any facial hair because that's a typical, it was a no-no.
Oh,
Where
okay.
a couple other guys did show up with
Like a mustache?
mustache, and
Okay,
they paid for it the next morning.
okay. Can
So
I ask,
I was
can I ask why? I don't know if maybe that's a common knowledge, but I didn't know.
we weren't good enough. We weren't troopers, so we weren't good enough to have earned facial hair yet.
Okay, okay, I got it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's part of the process.
Okay, okay, okay. Break you down
Yeah,
and then build you back up.
build you up.
Okay.
Build you back into a team. It's all structured the way they run their academy. It's like when people start getting comfortable, they want you to get uncomfortable so that they can get you to start looking at the fine detail that you need to.
Okay, okay.
So it's all structured all the way through it. So it isn't like they're just going on a rampage to, you know, make you feel like dirt. And then
Right, right. There's a purpose to it.
there's a purpose behind the
Okay,
madness.
sure, okay. Do they still have that 14, 16 weeks?
Yes.
For the academy?
Yes.
You can't become a state patrol officer unless you go to that academy, is that,
That's correct.
that's correct? Okay, okay. So is it just a little bit of a step more of experience?
I think specified training. would
Specified
be-
training,
yeah.
okay. Because I know of like people that go into law enforcement, they have criminal justice, but there isn't really a specific degree you have to enter being a state patrol officer.
No.
But you do have to do that academy, okay?
And one of the purposes behind it is the troopers are spread out all over the state. And their supervision isn't right there with them all the time. You know, they could be several counties over and have a lieutenant that watches 2 or 3 different areas.
Oh, okay,
You know, so part of that academy is, can you operate on your own? Can you be self-efficient? You know, self-motivated? You know, disciplined.
Are you disciplined?
I believe I am.
Have you always been self-disciplined? Or did you get it
For the most part,
for the
yes.
most part? Okay, okay. Get up on time and file paperwork, and do you lax a little bit on that, and crunch it way at the end, or do you are you efficient all the way through to keep that consistency?
For the most part, I would say I always kept my timelines because I didn't want to get behind. And that might go back to when I was, you know, like a sophomore in high school. I think it was my sophomore year. I moved in with my grandfather after he had gotten out of the nursing home. He had broke his hip and was at the nursing home for a little while.
Yeah.
And we needed somebody, you know, to take care of him. And me and my grandpa were just tight, you know. So I moved in with him, and then, you know, I did basically the cooking and cleaning,
Sure.
and still went to school and whatever.
Yeah.
But so there was I always had to, you know, a little bit of discipline in that area where I had to take care of somebody, you know, or help take care of them.
So get up in the morning, you had to make breakfast for him even before you went to school, make sure all his needs were taken care of, go to school, and then come home and you had to make dinner for him, and so much responsibility
Yeah.
at a pretty early age.
Yeah, and you know, there's always other family members
Right,
stop by and
right.
whatever.
You weren't 100%
Right.
in control of it, but you still had, nonetheless, you still had to do the chores or the job of doing it and getting it done. So you contribute that discipline early on to
I think so.
some of that. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. I would be a procrastinator on some of the paperwork, and I probably wouldn't serve me too well. The older I'm getting, the better, because you know when I hate crunch time, I hate it. You know, when there's a deadline and then now I'm crunching. So I've gotten much better, but early on I was not so disciplined. But you have to be that way. I mean, your appearance too, I would think, as a state patrol officer, pressed, but you know, clothes and buttons.
Yep.
Do you have multiple?
Everything's shined up. And
Oh, okay. And that's part of the training.
Yeah.
That's part of what you have to produce.
Yeah, every morning you'd have inspection, make sure everything was pressed and polished
okay.
and
Okay. Okay. How many outfits do you have when you're a state patrol officer?
oh, you could have anywhere from 3, 4 easily. You know.
Okay.
And then over the years you'd just accumulate more. And
Okay.
But if it started getting a little tattered or whatever like that, you just got rid of it and they
Okay.
would
Produce another
produce
one for
another
you.
one for you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I would think that, you know, if you get home and maybe you have some family gathering, you don't have time to do clothes or whatever, and then it has to be just so. I would think I'd like to have a couple outfits so that I could make sure that
Well,
at least one of them are ready.
it was pretty nice because you didn't really have to wonder what you're going to wear for work.
Yeah,
you know.
true. Right. Yeah.
You know,
Same
that
old,
was
same
old
old
thing.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just kind of
Yeah.
you're comfortable in what you have. So now you are let's say, how old are you when you get to be into full-time state patrol? You get through the academy. You're married at this time then?
I think I was 26
26.
Yeah.
When did you retire?
when I was 51.
So you've had a full
I had a full 30.
Full 30. Through those years, Was there different brackets you could step up, or different positions that you could step into?
There was a lot of opportunities as far as, I retired as a station sergeant, which is basically the most senior person in the station, and he does
Okay.
the scheduling and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I also served as a defensive tactics instructor, firearms instructor, field training officer, and I was on the executive council of the State Patrol Troopers Association for 18 years.
Wow, Tim,
So
you've seen a lot of stuff.
got to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the doors opened up, opportunities opened up, and then you just, did you always want to learn and always achieve something? Or is that kind of a normal, typical
It's,
progress?
for a lot of people, I think it's just because it just gives you something else to do, something different.
Okay.
I was a background investigator for, I don't know, maybe 16 years, the last 16 years of my career. And since then, I do a little side business of law enforcement careers. And most of the time it's either, a small town that is hiring a chief of police, or, the chief can't actually get involved in the backgrounds now because of post. So they'll hire outside, somebody to do it.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of those yet, and
Okay.
keeps you kind of in the law enforcement perspective
Wow.
type of deal.
You just love it.
Yeah.
You love it, can't completely get out of it. You're retired, but you still kind of want to keep your
Yeah.
fingers dabbling a little bit in some of that.
It is, because once you, I was always the type of person that I never thought, hey, when I retire, the job's gonna, not get done. I always knew that when the door hit my butt, somebody else was walking in, and the next day, they're gonna do the job. They may not have all the experience that I currently had. They might be new, but they're gonna gain it. They're gonna do a good job. They're not gonna fail. They won't let you fail.
Okay. Okay. You were a really good supervisor when you have that mentality of just, you're not going to fail. We're going to get it so that you don't fail, and you're going to fill that position. That motivates more people than, micromanaging and controlling
Yes,
situations
absolutely.
and thinking that you're not replaceable, is what I've noticed over the years.
It was almost comical sometimes when you'd have somebody that was a deputy sheriff, for 12 years, and then they'd come to the patrol. There wasn't really a lot you could teach them. They knew the job. So you'd kind of just basically get them through. Okay, this is how we do our paperwork. This is how we process.
Okay, sure.
But as far as knowing the job, they knew the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And they'd learned, at the academy also. So they were disciplined when they came out.
Okay. All right. What is something that one of your greatest, through all those years, what is something that you can say that you're really happy, or you can really hang your hat on, that you were a part of, or that you're really proud of? Is there something that stands out?
Oh, there's multiple things.
Okay. All
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
I was always fair with people. That's probably one of the biggest things is I treated people like I wanted to be treated. I didn't, even though they're at their darkest hour and they're getting arrested and they're going to go to jail, I didn't, I wasn't one to boast about it, or, to make them feel any lower than they were. I just didn't think that was right.
How do you do that? How do you make somebody that's at their lowest moment in their life, how do you make them feel that?
You're encouraging. I mean, you tell somebody that, hey, you know what, learn from this. Don't let this just, drag you down. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay a fine, or maybe spend some time in jail or something like that. But don't repeat this. Make this your opportunity to change. Make some better choices in your life.
Did you see that sometimes they would
You
turn
know,
their
I
life
did,
around?
and that was for my very first job. I arrested this young guy, about the same age as me. He was married, had a couple kids, and tell you how green I was. Okay, so we ended up in a big wrestling match on the slop in the, you know, it was in the spring of the year. And, well, I had a wrestling background, so I didn't have any trouble with keeping on top of them, but I couldn't get handcuffs on them. And so, long story short, we ended up, we charged him with multiple things, you know, resisting arrest and all that stuff. And it was about a year later, he had moved to the next town over and gotten a job with the city. And this is the guy that probably the last thing on his mind is that he wanted to get a job. It was, you know, as long as he could put some food down his face, you know, that's all he cared.
Okay.
Really not even about his kids, you know.
Okay. All right.
But a year later, he got hired by the city next to us on the street department. And the chief actually called me up and he goes, hey, so-and-so wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And I drove over there. And he goes, you arresting me that night was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, wow.
And I went, okay, you know, where's the punchline?
Right,
You know?
yeah. What's
He
coming?
goes, it opened my eyes. He goes, I got young kids. I got a family. And the rest of the time I was down there, you know, it was probably only about a year later, but there was absolutely, they said he was one of the best workers they had on
Yeah.
street department.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, hopefully everything continued.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
So that approach of, well, and you know, Tam, if we're honest in life, some of the things that have happened to us personally, you know, not arresting, but like some of the toughest knocks have actually helped us learn the most in life.
Yes.
So for him, you know, and I often look at too, you know, raising six kids and, you know, walking along through those teenage years. It wasn't fun all the time, and they made, you know, choices. All of us do. You know, we all make different choices. And some of the things that happen to young kids, and as parents, we kind of need to back up too a little bit and realize that some of those things, losing a match, you know, not getting the perfect score that, you know, that you needed, or going to the right college, or whatever it is, sometimes some of those things actually teach us in life.
They do.
So
Yeah.
you just used arresting. That's a little bit, you know, a little bit out there, a little bit more. But I mean, you can take all the way from, you know, something minor all the way to something major.
Right.
Those lessons like that sometimes actually teach us the most in life, all the way through. So
Correct, yeah.
Well, and that's what you said at the very beginning, is that's what you've always approached it at, is helping or teaching, encouraging, and never punishing.
Right.
So what if you get somebody that's, I mean, really testing you? You know, I mean,
You know.
you've got to come across some of those.
Yeah.
How do you handle that when they're not learning, they're not correcting?
The thing is, you never let them see that they're getting to you.
Oh, okay,
That's the main thing.
okay,
Because as soon as they find just a crack in there that they're getting under your skin,
okay,
they're going to expand on it.
okay,
So the more you can control yourself,
okay,
the better the situation's going to end.
okay. Just keep it, no matter what
Yes.
they're doing, that's their actions. Your actions need to stay elevated and calm.
Calm.
Okay, okay.
Be that calming effect. I mean,
Okay. That would be very difficult. I think about, like, you know, my daughter, she was in an accident, you know, on high level, intense. How do you do that? You know, when you come to, I'm not talking about any trouble. I'm just talking about like bad car accidents, you know, even like bad situations in homes. I mean, how do you,
you know, one of the things with law enforcement is that you're supposed to be this kind of a tough guy, tough lady persona that nothing bothers you. And any law enforcement officer that would tell you that is probably not being truthful to themselves.
okay,
Because every time you go to one of these crashes where there's broken bones and people screaming, or there's a death or something like that, it does take a little bit out of you personally.
okay,
Part of my out was when I would go to a major crash is my mindset was I have a job to do. I got to do my job. And that kind of took that personal effect out of it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it didn't affect me,
Okay.
but I could cope with it
At that moment.
at that moment.
Okay. Okay. But what about later? What about when you're taking your clothes off?
I had
for
a
the
great
night?
support system at home.
Okay.
We didn't have a scanner. We, they didn't know, they didn't want to know what was happening when I
Okay.
was out working.
Okay. We're talking when we say we, your family.
Yeah. my
Okay. Your
family.
wife. Okay.
But if I needed to talk, they were always there,
Okay. Okay.
you know.
What helped you more, your family or your coworkers?
Family,
Family.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Coworkers are always there, but there's only so much you want them to know about you too, as far as about, does this bother you? Now, law enforcement has evolved a lot with crisis within law enforcement, of having people that, peer counselors that you can go and talk to, or they call you. When a local officer took his life years ago, I was in the office, and I was not known to be one that was just quiet. And that day I was just quiet. I was thinking about, why, this and that. And actually the captain had the peer counselor give me a call, said, Tim's just not acting right. And we talked, and I told him, I said, I'm having a tough time understanding why this happened, why I didn't see a sign, why somebody else didn't see a sign, It wasn't so, and that, it just hit so close to home,
So when you say that you were quiet, you just turned into yourself.
Into a shell.
Into a shell, and you were just processing it internally.
Correct.
Okay. Is that kind of an early normal stage
Yeah.
to have happened probably? And then when do you know that it's probably getting too much for you? What if you wouldn't have gotten that call, and you're...
If it starts affecting your home life or your professional life, then it's definitely time. You need to talk to somebody. And somebody will see that, they'll point it out to you. One of the things, when I retired from the patrol, or just before, I went on an early out. They were going to change the pension system. I had an opportunity to leave a couple of years earlier than I normally would have.
Okay.
But I just told my wife, I said, I can find myself not having as much tolerance for people. Just actually go into it deeper, the stupidity of some people than I did before. And it wasn't where I would lash out at them or whatever. It was just, I was starting to get to that point where it was like, okay, you got into this crash. It could have been so avoided. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I can't believe you did it. Or seeing, going to a domestic with other agencies or something like that, and seeing the way people are treating each other, and thinking, how can you do this to each other? It's crazy.
Tim, I want to stop you right there. I am just so engulfed in the way, well, first of all, your honesty. I'm thankful and I appreciate your honesty, because these are some spots in here that you're vulnerable, and people don't, you in your position, getting into that vulnerable spot of law enforcement, you were trained to not let that down.
Right.
And you're doing that. So I want to make sure, I want you to know I'm appreciating that. But I also think, before we even started this talk, I had said to you, always when we're talking about some of the darker side of law enforcement, to think about maybe who you could be helping. And I think that's what you really are doing, that. And do you know that? Like, if there's a listener right now listening to you and you're being as open and as honest as you're being right now, to fellow officers, young or old, that the signs that we're talking about. So I want to tell you, thank you very much for being honest, because you never know who you are helping. So in that moment when because earlier on you had stated that you were always patient with people. You never wanted to punish them. You were more, took the approach of, what can we do to help you and get you through this? Now, as the years went on, you were getting to the level of a point of like, you just can't take stupidity anymore. You just can't take somebody that knew better, can't be. So now you're probably a little bit more judgmental.
Yes.
As the years went on. Is
Yes.
that maybe, would that be an accurate assumption?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that was the sign that you caught, that you knew that was happening, and you said, you know what, I'm not doing what I think I should be doing anymore. The approach I have that has always worked for me is not working for me anymore, and it's hurting me. Is that what I think I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I mean, it came to a point, I still love my job. I still think I was very effective in what I did. I had no regrets about leaving, but I just felt it was, me personally, I just felt it was time. It was time to hang it up, let somebody else do it, that I had done my share. I talked to my wife about it, and she told me too, she goes, yeah, I could see that you don't have the patience with people that you used to, And I still, I didn't punish people as far as tickets and that
Right.
because of it, but it was just the fact that, how can you do this? I mean, it's just dumb. Why are you doing this? Instead of understanding probably why they were doing it, it wasn't that anymore. It was, I'm looking more at the stupidity.
Right. Well, and you just didn't have that tolerance anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just lift it up a little bit, a little lighter. I think about when my grandchildren came home for Christmas, and something would spill or something would break, or they were getting into toys. I loved it at first, and it was great when all the kids were home, but then you pile all of them in, and I have 7 of grandchildren, and I love them when they're all home. But when I was younger, I could handle all of that, no problem. But when I get older, I think it affects my nerves a little bit more, that I can't handle, like when they hit each other, or they're fighting, or they're crying because they're not sharing or whatever. I just back up because I can't do it. I'm just, my nerves. So I think, I hope that's the way a lot of grandparents are, because I love them when they're home. But after it's been a couple weeks of them all being here, sometimes my nerves are fried. But I think that happens with all of us, no matter if we're talking about our occupation
Right.
or our personal life. We just can't handle, and I never understood that, when I was younger, when older people would say that. I am starting to now understand that my nerves can't handle it.
Yeah.
I can handle other things, but, just.
I see, even with my grandkids, it's, my son and daughter-in-law have a different way of raising their kids than I was. Probably a little bit more strict with my kids. And that's fine. It's working for them great. But sometimes it's like, you go, you can't say no.
Right, right, yeah. So Tim, since we're on the subject of kids, how is it when you are in law enforcement raising children? Let's say, you see what speed can do. So, you might be a little bit more harder on your kids about slowing down. I'm just picking something. Are you a little bit more harder on your children, or are you a little bit more relaxed because you see domestics, you see car crashes because of speed, you see drunk driving? How are you as a parent when you're in law enforcement?
My kids would say I was a dictator.
Oh, you were a dictator.
Yeah,
okay.
because
Come on now, really.
When they first got their, my kids, let's just say law enforcement was a part of their life, all the time. And I started when they were in like kindergarten, first grade. I went to the school. I talked about using your seatbelt and things like that. So their classmates all knew me.
Okay.
When they got their driver's license, I told them the way it was going to be.
Okay.
If you get a ticket, you're going to lose your license, your ability to drive.
Okay.
First thing I would do is I'd try calling them. If they answered their cell phone, oh my gosh, they got a butt chewing.
Okay.
What are you doing? Well, you called me. I don't care.
God, you set that up.
Trick, yeah.
Okay.
Trick number one.
Fair enough.
So I get my eldest son came home, and he comes up to me and he says, "Dad, I got stopped for speeding." And I said, "Okay." I said, "By who?" And ended up it was one of my partners.
Sure.
I said, "Did you get a ticket?" No, he gave me a warning. Okay. How fast were you going? He goes, so he tells me, and I go, "Okay." I said, "Well, you know what happens now." Yeah. He lost his license for 2 weeks. He had to go on the bus,
Okay.
which was put us in it because then we'd have to go pick up the other
Right,
kids,
right,
you know,
right,
for
right,
sports
right,
and that.
right,
We
right,
didn't have
right,
that free
right.
ride
Yeah.
back and
It wasn't
forth.
a luxury for you
Yeah,
to do this.
but that was the rule.
Okay. Okay.
Well, then I called my partner up and I said, "I understand you stopped my son." And, Yep. I said, "What was his attitude?" He was very apologetic. I said, "Any back talk?" "Absolutely not."
No.
"Okay. Did you give him a warning because he's my son?" He goes, "No, he was in that area where I give everybody warnings."
Okay.
I said, "Perfect."
Okay. So, Tim, we've covered a lot in things that you've done, like in law enforcement. But has there ever been a time where you really kind of seized an opportunity to be really, really impactful, to somebody, young or old? Has there ever been an event like that? That I can't imagine an event not happening where you could really make a difference to somebody.
I really didn't see the impact that occurred. I wish I would have had more time with the individual, but fairly early in my career with the State Patrol, I went to a crash, and it involved 3 high school students.
Ooh.
And they were on their way back from actually having their senior pictures taken. And they were T-boned by a semi. 2 of them perished at the scene, and the third individual had some very sophisticated or significant leg injuries and injuries in general. And one of the things that I did, several months after the accident is I went to his house and I visited with him. And I wanted to, ask him if he thought there was any questions. But one of the things that I asked him is I asked him, "Do you believe in God?" And he said that he did. And I told him, the reason you survived this crash is because God wanted you to survive it. And God has a purpose for you. But you're going to have to choose that path. Do you want to have this influence you in a way that's going to be destructive in your life? Or do you want to go in a path where maybe you can help somebody do good with it or make changes in their life? I said, you're the one that needs to decide this. And I met with him on another time, shortly after. But I transferred out of the area, so I lost contact with him. So I never did get to fully see what path he took. But I'm hoping that, my talks with him helped him at least maybe go in the right direction.
Well, there's so many emotional things, that happen with that. Like I'm just like graphically, I'm thinking T-boned 3 teenagers just coming from their high school senior pictures. Yeah. 2 of your friends are gone. I mean, how do you move forward? And then you said he had significant injuries, head, leg, body, just
Legs.
Yeah.
And part of my talk with him was because he did question, why did I survive? Why did my friends die? Why did I survive? And I think that was brought out, and that's when I got into about now the direction that you're going to go with this. I know his mom was very thankful for our conversation, so she felt that it did some good.
Survival guilt. Is that maybe what you were talking about?
Absolutely.
I've heard that before. Why me? And you want to go with them.
Right.
And it wasn't your time. You're Christian.
Yes.
Okay. Seizing that opportunity, and addressing the issue. Sometimes, we don't always know how to handle it. And you just seized it by saying, do you know God? It was his plan for you to survive and not your two other friends. Now it's your choice. You can't ask why. You can't go back and forth and be guilty. You have to know that it was the plan and then make something good come from it.
And I always, the worst job in State Patrol was doing death notifications. And, I was very fortunate that I never had any of my relatives that I had to go and make a notification. I was either off duty or, different part of the state or whatever. But I always felt that if I could get clergy involved or talk to them about their faith, that it actually made things just a little bit easier and maybe gave them a little bit more insight. I just think it was just easier for them to cope with it, knowing that, okay, this is beyond their son or daughter or somebody else's actions. It was God's plan for them somehow.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I want to put a personal input into that from my personal view. My husband passed away now 4.5 years ago, and I've had so many conversations in that duration with other men and women that have lost their spouse. And I can relate to that. I've also talked to many people that have lost, parents or lost children, but I can't relate to that to the level I always feel like I can talk from, except for the fact that I lost my spouse now. So when I have conversations with other people that have lost their spouse, inevitably, it's going to come down to he or she is in a better place, or they're in heaven. And it always is so intriguing to me to have these conversations with people when they have that insight that they're doing okay with the death and the loss of their spouse. But it's people that don't have that level of faith, that are fighting, that are struggling, trying to find something yet. And, and I don't think you were either. We're not here trying to be out there preaching. But what we've witnessed, there's a peace when you do have a level of faith when you're dealing with death. So thank you for sharing that with me. But I have to ask you, how does that go? Like, when you have to notify a family, is it always State Patrol that does that?
Not always.
Not always?
Sometimes it'll be a local agency, but it seems like if it's a crash that's on a state highway system,
okay,
then it's
okay,
usually just patrol.
okay,
Or if it's a non-local person.
okay,
So say if somebody were killed down in the Twin Cities, but they lived in another part, and
Okay.
you work that part of the state,
okay,
they would tell you, okay, we've identified this person.
Okay.
These are the next of kin. You need to
okay,
go make a notification.
okay. So, like, you get the call. What if it is somebody that you know? Do you decline that?
You have that opportunity.
You
yeah,
have that
if you did.
opportunity if you knew them. Okay. Do you sometimes?
I actually did a notification where I knew the parents. I didn't know the child. He was killed in another part of the state, but I knew the parents, and they asked me. They said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "I think it'll be easier coming from me than a stranger." And I went and made a notification. Ended up taking the father to where the mother was because she wasn't at home at the time, so that we could both, he could make, tell her about it, and then get them both home safely,
Okay.
so they could start the grieving process.
Wow.
But it was, yeah, I mean, that was one of those where it was, hi, Tim, and I'm like, I got this bad news, I just got to tell you.
Okay.
And,
It goes from here down
Yeah.
down to there.
so,
A lot of times people will say that you can't judge somebody for their actions when they're dealing with the loss of a loved one. I don't know if I've read it or have heard it over the years, but sometimes people will start laughing and way out of character. They just don't know how. Have you seen something
Oh
like
my
that?
gosh, yes.
Really?
I've seen where we did a death notification, and
Wow.
the lady said, "Well, how's my dog?" Because they had their dog, or the guy had his dog with,
Okay.
And I said, "Well, your dog's fine. We got that at the local, kennel."
Okay.
And
Okay.
okay, was the dog hurt? Nothing about the husband.
Okay. And you had told her that her husband
Yes.
was killed.
Yes,
So you had given her that information.
but it was all, is the dog okay? When can I get my dog?
Oh,
It was like, you're thinking, oh, I just told you your husband
okay.
passed,
How do you deal with that then? How do you handle that?
answer as many questions you can, as nice and polite as you can, calming, and
You know
get
that
get back to the husband.
facts.
And
Okay. Did it ever register
yeah, after
after time? Okay.
yeah. But I think it was the shock was trying to block it out by, okay, let's just focus on the dog.
And then you have some that are just, they get it instantly, and then it's just, they lose it. Just,
One of the first ones I did was to go and tell a mother that her daughter had died, and it was a really, kind of a weird circumstance, because apparently she was with her boyfriend. He proposed to her. She said yes. He leaned over to give her a kiss, went off the road, and then she was killed.
oh, no.
And went and told the mother, and we had the local clergy come with us, and it was a couple deputies, and we told her, and she just ran out the door, screaming, running down the street. We had to basically chase her down and bring her back to the house. Just totally went.
Oh, I'm just
berserk.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
When you go home at night, boy,
Oh,
that's the stuff that,
Yeah, it's
like, that's tough.
I don't think there's ever one that's the same. They're just all different in one way or the other. But not the most enjoyable thing to do in law enforcement.
No,
Is to tell
but it's
somebody,
your job.
Yep.
Again, we go back to that protecting and then serving. Nobody wants to give that information.
No.
Nobody. But you are trained. I mean, that's your job. I mean, protect and to serve.
to serve.
And that comes with that territory. Wow. Yeah. I think sometimes if all of us knew sometimes some of the things that law enforcement has to go through and see.
And it's just not law enforcement. It's, all EMS, fire
Okay.
department. And over the years, when I first started in law enforcement, it was, the persona that, hey, you're tough. You can put up with this stuff, and it should never bother you. And that's far from the truth. And I've talked to fire, personnel before and that, and the emotional part of them going to crashes and taking dead bodies out of cars, and that it makes its toll. And those are other departments that I think we're finally saying, hey, they may need to talk to some people too. So
First responders.
So it's good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, just having this conversation, we all as, citizens, I mean, we know to certain degrees, but I think it's, what law enforcement, and thank you for pointing that out, firefighters, EMT, first responders, what they have to deal with. But I think having these conversations and just being honest about it, coming from you, retired, tough, strong, in law enforcement, have seen so many different things. But you're saying it's real. It really is. I mean, and you have emotions. You have feelings, and it affects you. So thank you for sharing that. That was heavy, Tim. That was really heavy. Thank you very much for sharing that. Sometimes some of these conversations we don't know how to even have. We don't know the questions to ask. I think as normal citizens, we know that what you have to go through, or some of the level of it, but sharing it, it's heavy. It's a lot to handle. And here it's you. I mean, it's your life. It's law enforcement. It's fire department. It's EMT.
Correct.
It is their life on a daily basis. And I have nothing but appreciation and gratitude for for you. Thank you for your time, keeping all of us safe and serving and protecting. And I mean that. I really do. And, and for anybody that's in those, so thank you very much for sharing that in those spots and positions that carry those heavy loads. And for any, viewer that's listening out there, you can relate. This is not my job, an occupation, so some of the things that Tim has shared with us today, and if you can relate to it, we thank you as, also thank you as well for serving. We appreciate that more than you know. And having this conversation, I think, really opens up the real intimate details that they have to deal with, on a day-to-day basis. So thank you again, Tim. Mm-hmm. So Tim, when you have these like really heavy moments and stuff, what do you do to kind of regroup? Or actually, I think you're funny. I think you're a very funny person, like outside of the position. What do you do to keep your spirits high?
Oh, there's a lighter side to law enforcement.
Okay.
So when I was in Southwest Minnesota as a trooper, I went into my captain's office one day. And I said, Captain, I need to put in for a hardship transfer.
Okay.
And my captain was a no BS type of guy.
Oh.
But he looked at me very concerning and said, have a seat. So I had a seat. He goes, well, what's going on in your life? I said, I need to get back to my people.
Okay.
He said, what do you mean by that? I said, there's no Finlanders in Southwest Minnesota. And I was straight-faced.
I was so into this, Tim, with you. Okay, you got me. Okay, no Finlanders.
So,
okay, finish.
So he goes, Tim, come back with me. So we left his office, and we walked way back to the DOT, way in the back on the other end of the building. And I saw the sign on the guy's door. He opened it up and goes, Dave Arla, Tim Clements. He goes, do your ethnic bonding and leave me alone.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so, well, he was no BS, but he got you.
Oh, he got me, yeah.
He thought, yeah.
But, I mean, over the years, when you have all these tough moments where you have to get away, get it out of your system. But there's a lot of, interesting aspects to and funny things that happen that, you just shake your head and go, I love this job.
Yeah, just some good belly laughs.
A young guy from North Dakota on his motorcycle one morning was speeding, and he was quite a bit over the speed limit. And he decided he wanted to play Let's Make a Deal. So he goes, I'll tell you what.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you a joke, and if you think it's funny, you give me a warning.
Okay.
And if you don't think it's funny, then give me the ticket.
Okay.
He told me this joke, and it was funny. I am not kidding you, but I kept a straight face. Didn't crack a smile. Went back, wrote the ticket, gave it to him. He goes, I can't believe you didn't think that was funny. I said, well, you just got me on a bad day. Well, the fact is that he was just going way too fast to give him a break.
Okay.
So I gave him the ticket, sent him on the way, and I'm in my car laughing. And I'm thinking, I got to remember this when I get back to the office. Okay. And I forgot it.
Oh, okay. You forgot the joke, but it was so funny. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh my God. You have to have like a poker face of all poker faces at times. My gosh.
I actually had kind of, my wife still says the same thing, that she can't read me sometimes.
Okay.
Because I can keep a straight face when I need to, and other times, I can't. But
right.
Our court system. I went to court one day, had a trial on a speeding ticket, and they had the case just before me was up, and this lady was pregnant, and she was probably pretty close to 9 months. She was quite large, pregnant wise.
Yep. Ready to deliver.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And the judge said, "Well, I'm going to dismiss this ticket. You can count this as a gift to your unborn child from the court."
Okay.
And I'm thinking, oh boy, I got a real liberal judge today.
Okay.
So my guy gets up, and it's a speeding ticket, and he takes the guy's rap sheet, and he had multiple violations. He goes, "Is there Mr. Johnson?" We'll use that name. "Is there a Mr. Johnson in the courtroom?" guy stands up. Right here, Your Honor. He goes, Mr. Johnson, you got quite the record. And he goes, okay. Got one question for you, Mr. Johnson. Are you pregnant?
Okay.
The guy goes, what? He goes, are you pregnant? No. He goes, oh, you're going to wish you were. I'm in the back. I'm going,
Right.
you know, I'm trying not to laugh, but this judge is just giving him the thing about, you're not getting a break today, buddy, kind of thing.
Right.
But to hear the judge say that, it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, they can have
They had a good time, too. Yeah.
They have to have some fun, too.
I heard a guy one time tell a judge that, he goes, well, this isn't the people's court. And the judge looked at him and goes, yep, and I'm not Judge Wapner.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh.
Wow. The stuff that goes on inside the court system, too.
Yeah, I look at it like a judge in that, to have to listen to case after case after case and be serious and.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there any cases that you were really frustrated with that made it through, the court system and then didn't get the justice that you felt like it should have been?
Yeah, there was one time when a local prosecutor, and they have their right to do what they want to do or whatever like that, but he ended up taking a DWI and he just pled it down, and he told me that, well, I always plead the first one down, The only problem that I had with it was the guy was a school bus driver.
Oof.
I had no tolerance for that. He should have been convicted, but he pled to a careless driving instead, and didn't get the conviction for the DWI. And I went and talked to him, and at the time, that was really the start of Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Okay.
And I just told him, I said, if Mothers Against Drunk Driving were to hear about this, you're not going to like what they're going to come here and protest you or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
But that one was, otherwise I always took it as, if I lost something in court, whether it was, my fault or the judge just didn't see something or nothing, something wasn't brought up, it was just a learning experience. I didn't take it personal, I'd have either defendants or a defense attorney, kind of look at me like, gotcha, that one. Like, okay.
Fine.
Well, next time.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
But no, the big thing was you just couldn't take it personal. I mean, some people, I had partners that, they'd get mad and, pout about it for a week or so.
Right.
It's like, why?
Right. Yeah. Well, you can't take everything personal, because you're just dealing with so much all the time, every day. So you have to learn to kind of.
I still, to this day, I'll have people come up to me and they'll say, do you remember when you gave me that ticket over on, and I'll go, no, or I'll just go, no, or make it sound like maybe I do, but, I don't, because I had, you kind of learned yourself that you had to just forget about that and go on to the next one. Otherwise, you can't remember them all.
Right.
Not that I was a huge ticket writer, but you definitely couldn't, remember every one.
Right.
But
it's just too much.
that was a good lesson to learn, is the person you're stopping, they remember it.
Oh, absolutely.
They remember every word you say.
Right. Right. Yeah. I always think about, like, if you ever get a ticket, what do you say to the officer? Thank you very much for, writing me up, or, that's always kind of an awkward situation. You know what you did, and they wrote you up. It's like, so. Well, Tim, this has been so, I have learned so much today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, it's very interesting to see some of the things in different perspectives from your point of view. So, I hope you've had as much fun as I've had today, just talking about some of this stuff. It's been very informative, and thank you for joining me on Real Feel Insights.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.